Welcome to the show. This is your host, David Yanez, and we have our interview today, ICRS 2013 here in St. Louis, and he's my last interview before lunch, so that's always good. We have no one behind him. We can take our time. We've been running a little bit behind, and that's why I have a 2-hour gap, so I can catch up on some of the stuff. But Mr. Stephen Miller, how are you?
I'm good.
And he's written a book, and it's the Illustrated Bible, and the Illustrated Bible Dictionary, and we are going to have that image for you right there. You should be seeing it right now. And we're going to talk about him first, and then we'll go back to this. And he's written several other books. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Stephen.
I'm a former newspaper journalist who went to seminary to learn how to write about the Bible and Christian faith. So I think of myself as a reporter who covers the Bible beat. And I translate the Bible into English for, especially for newcomers to the faith, and for people who are outside the faith but who are curious about the Bible and Christianity. And that's a hard.
It is. Do you feel a strong calling to do that, as far as put it out? It's something that you enjoy.
You know, I don't know. I don't know if it's a calling. I just, from my newspaper days, I've felt as though you just don't write snooty. You write in a way that people.
True. Very true.
That people. You write the way you talk. I mean, there's a place for academic stuff, for the snooty Bible commentaries that are for ministers and for people who have been in the faith a long time. I mean, I use them. I use them in my research, but my goodness, I would not recommend. Well, I'm tempted to name names, but I won't. I mean, they're resources that I use and I depend on, but I'm not recommending these to newcomers to the faith. Certainly not to people outside the faith who want to just nibble at the edges of Christianity and the Bible just to get a taste of what this is about. And I try to help them nibble their way in.
Amen. Amen. So you've been able to put several other books out too.
Yeah.
Tell us about some of those books. What kind of styles are they? What kind of topics?
Let's see. The first I've done a lot with Barber Publishing. They were the first ones to start doing my color illustrated books, and the first one they did was Who's Who and Where's Where in the Bible. So it's the big names of the Bible, the people and the places. And in fact, I submitted that as a text only book, and I was shocked when someone from their production department called and said, "Would you be open to us turning this into a 4-color illustrated book?" And I actually laughed at him over the phone, because at that stage, the book is supposed to have been priced out before you submit it. They should know what they want to do with the book, what the price is going to be, the size. They ought to know all that. But apparently they saw something in it that they wanted to accentuate with color and photos, and my goodness, that was a good decision on their part, because the book turned out to be it got the Christian Retailers Award that year as the best nonfiction book of the year.
Really? And what was the title of that one?
Who's Who and Where's Where in the Bible.
Oh, okay. That sounds like very interesting subject.
What's interesting is it's written for people who are outside the faith, and it's engaging. That sounds like I'm bragging, but
no,
all I'm doing is using journalistic technique to present the Bible, like. The one I'm looking at right on my iPad. It's called the Illustrated Bible Dictionary, and I'm looking at the Esther entry, and it starts off by saying a hot-looking Jewish orphan, Esther, won a Middle Eastern beauty contest that landed her a lifetime gig, Queen of Iran, then known as Persia. So that style of writing is something that I'm hoping will draw in people who would not otherwise care about Esther or any of the stories in the Bible. I'm just trying to make it as interesting as it is to me.
And is that how your Who's Who also?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly like that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no wonder. It did pretty good.
Yep.
So this one's been released, or is about to be released, or
This one was released.
April Fool's Day.
April Fool's Day.
and how's the response been? Any feedback yet?
You know, I don't know. It's too early. I haven't seen sales reports on it. But you know, Illustrated Bible Dictionary just is not. It's not sexy, and you know, I don't expect that it would. I shouldn't say this, but I don't expect that it would do as well as some of the others that I've done.
Tell me about some of the others. I mean, you had the Who's Who.
The Complete Guide to the Bible was another big seller. I mean, hundreds of thousands of copies, which is pretty unusual for a Bible reference book.
Mm-hmm.
But it's color illustrated also, and it goes all the way through the Bible. Well, I don't know how to describe it because it's not like a commentary, but it does give you an overview of each book, like 2 pages. It gives you that introductory stuff, but it's written in a different way, and it highlights each of the big stories. It doesn't go through every chapter of just the big stories. It's kind of like the stuff you really want to know if you want to know anything about the Bible. And so I did that from Genesis to Revelation. It took me a year to do it. But generally, these illustrated books, it takes a year of my life.
Oh, wow. So the illustrated being pictures inside and descriptive tales of it?
Yeah, because I do the photo research and almost all of the acquisition. The publisher will do some of the acquisition that's the easier stuff.
The acquisition, explain that to them. They may not know what that means.
To get it. you find the photos in various places. One of the standard suppliers is Art Resource out of New York City.
Okay.
And if I find photos on their website that I like, and I know what the kind of things Art Resource has.
And you acquire from them?
With Art Resource, they're easy to get from, so I just give that information to the publisher and they get it. But most of the art that I use in my books it just doesn't come from the normal places. There's a lot of social media out there with people putting out their images, and you can go to those, and if you can find some really good stuff. I mean, really good stuff that hasn't been printed anywhere, which is what I love. But you've got to go through the trouble of getting it from them, which there was this one picture that I wanted. It was a camel race, and the reason I wanted it was to illustrate the story of Gideon and the Midianites. You know, the Midianites would come in at harvest time, and they would raid the Jewish farms, and they came in on camels. It was the first time in recorded history that I know of that camels were used in warfare, and they were really fast and they just come right up on you really quickly. And so I wanted that to illustrate the Gideon story. And the camel race picture that I found was on a social media site, and the guy was from Pakistan who had taken the photo. So I emailed him, and I was afraid, I'm an American. He's Pakistan. I'm thinking you might not want me to have
use this picture, right?
Yeah, but he was a young fella, and he was eager to have it used. And he said, "But I can't give it to you right now. I'm off to the Himalayas." And
that's just around the corner from where.
I don't know. And I said, well, don't fall off the mountain because I really want this. When you come back, he said he'd be back like in a month or so. Don't fall off the mountain.
And you're still riding, right, at that time?
I was what?
You're still writing at that time?
Yeah.
The book was in
Okay. Yeah. I'm doing this art research as I'm writing the book.
Okay.
And so when I'm on the Gideon story, I'm thinking, okay, I want this camel race. And the funny thing is, when he went off to the Himalayas, I took my son to the Canadian Rockies to go mountain biking, and we rode down Whistler Mountain, which is where they skied in the last Olympics.
Yes.
And I fell on the mountain.
You fell off the mountain?
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, broke both collarbones.
Oh, my goodness.
Ribs and punctured a lung. And when I got back, I told him about it, and he says, "Oh my goodness, how are you feeling?" I said, "Well, I'm really feeling good. Morphine was great."
Tell everybody how they can get your book.
they can get it, go online anywhere, any of the places that sell books.
Do you have a website as well?
Yeah, Stephen, S-T-E-P-H-E-N, StephenMillerBooks.com.
StephenMillerBooks.com.
Yep.
Thank you so much for being on the show with
Oh,
us.
you're welcome.
And it's
Glad
very
to-
good interview.
glad to
Very
be
good.
here.
God bless you.
You
We'll
have
be back.
lunch.
Oh, wait, I'm going to go have lunch. We'll have you back in a little bit with another great guest. God bless.